ESF. It cannot come. That's my opinion.
So do share the facts on Hard Fact.
Hard Fact.
Hard Fact. 3 to 6 p.m. Live on 95.1 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
This is Hard Facts.
Hard Fact.
Hard Facts.
On 95.1 Nigeria Info.
13 minutes after 3. Good afternoon, Abuja. Welcome to Hard Facts with yours truly, Kimberly Wachiko. Call me Kim, the Oracle, the Digital Oracle, OTF, the fellow Chanyawa, Madam Speaker. And I will say yes to them all. I'm super stoked, excited to be here with you today. And I know 100 that we're going to have a fantastic time together from now till 7-ish. It's a Wednesday, so we start off with the Midweek special. My guest is seated, looking all regal. I'm a little curious as to because I've since realized that men, when they wake up, there's always a story and what it represents. So, Dr. Majeed, this one...
I'm trying to set you up against it. Before they think I've decamped. Please.
You know, there's so much going on in the country, so I need to...
I'm not decamped.
At least there's no infinity sign on the cap.
No. And there's no line 8.
Yeah.
8 that is lying down.
Exactly.
So please, I'm still where I am.
Well, pretty much, Dr. Majeed is here with us for the Midweek special. It's extended of the Roundtable Big Three as we look at some very critical stories driving conversation in the country. He needs little introduction. He's a researcher, he's a columnist, and the tech team lead of Luke's Gerald Leadership Foundation, one of the critical pundits we have in the country. And excited to always have him on radio every Wednesday for these conversations. So, talking about defection, well, just before we go there, the 19 days of commissioning has started. I mean, it was meant to start yesterday, and we started off with the commissioning of the renovated Abuja International Conference Center, which he renamed as the Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference. It just feels like the name became extra long, but it is what it is. And people are like, but the IBB built it now. So why are you giving someone's name on it? But it is what it is, apparently. Soldier come, soldier go, new name. Somebody must come a few years down the road and decide to give it a different name. You never can tell. But we wait to see what this 19 days of the commissioning of different projects, roads and infrastructure, will constitute at the end of the day. Yesterday, we just started a light conversation. I want your thoughts on it, asking if it's okay, even though it's gone on for a long time, and it feels like culturally acceptable by Nigerians to name projects after self or a fellow politician who's still pretty much in office. And to just, it's just a conversation to say there's no right or wrong answer. It's just as a people where we stand on this particular one, saying that it is our resources and why the name of a politician on it.
It's not okay at all. I don't think it's something that we should debate at all. I think it's becoming very worrisome. Too many projects have been named after this current president by either ministers, service chiefs, heads of MDAs. I think it's becoming nauseating, if you ask me. While it is commendable that the minister has renovated the International Conference Center, which is a major arena for events and entertainment activities in FCT, but to not name it after the president, I think it's a little bit of what Nigerians might call eye service taken too far. I think we should begin to, put the brakes on some of these tendencies. And the president himself should be very worried about these tendencies. Because like you rightly pointed out, some of these things can be reversed by successive administrations because some of them are not deserving of being named after the president.
Is it about it not being deserving or the fact that we just get
You name national monuments after people that are deserving of such national honor. People that have done so much, done certain things that are outstanding or significant to such institutions. For example, if you look at the headquarters of the FBI, it is named after John Edgar Hoover, who was one of the pioneer leaders of that term and the longest serving the Director General of the FBI. Everybody knows that he practically shaped FBI as it has become today. Whatever it is you know about FBI today, espionage, crime busting, just name it. It was like he personalized it. he stayed there for more than 3 decades. So somehow it was just befitting that, well, a man who introduced a novel kind of policing. Don't forget, America does not have federal police before the FBI. What used to have is state, county, local government, council, even university police. But the FBI was like the first time you're going to have a federal crime-fighting outfit that could combat federal crimes in cooperation, in collaboration with local policing authorities. So he was able to, to pioneer what was not part of the American crime-fighting system. And so he deserves that place to be named after him. For instance, look at our own EFCC building here. It was named after Tunde Idiagmo, somebody who was also believed to have been the main spirit, the force behind Buhari's war against corruption and indiscipline as at the time. So these are people that are deserving of national monuments being named after them. For instance, there is this clamor that the INEC office should be named after Professor Humphrey Nwosu, because if you're celebrating Democracy Day tomorrow, June 12th, and describe it as Nigeria's fairest and fresh election, somebody conducted that election.
Even though the debate on the floor of the Senate didn't give that vibe, because there were for and against argument as to what Humphrey Nwosu truly represented for the
fact that
June 12th
Humphrey
election.
Nwosu conducted an election and the results, whether he declared those results or not, the result as obtained clearly reflected the popular wish of the people who saw Abiola gaining a legitimate mandate was enough to have honored him. If he had conducted a very sham election, Abiola did not win, even if he had won and they rigged against Abiola, what will you be talking about June 12 today? So he deserves some credit, and he was working under the military. He could not go against those who were holding the gun. And those who said that he should have defied the odds to resign, no, it was not in his place. He was a public servant. And I'm saying such people are deserving of the honor of naming INEC for instance, after most people have been clamoring for. So there are people that deserve, to be honored by naming public institutions after them. Now, President Tinubu is just 2 years in office. And let him finish his tenure. Let us see his achievements. And if he's lucky, Nigerians feel he's done well enough to earn him a second term. If after 8 years he has done well, let the decision to name him after him come from the succeeding government. That is the honorable thing to do. And I think the president himself should begin to decline some of these gestures, because this particular one has created a lot of, I won't say animosity, but concern. Like you rightly pointed out in your intro, it was Bangida that built the International Conference Center. So if, for instance, you want to name that place after anybody, if there's anybody that deserves that place to be named after him, it is Bangida actually. This is why somebody can argue that you can also name the National Hospital after Madam Bangida, Madam Abacha, who built it as women and children hospital initially. Yes, so that it can encourage people that are in office, while you are there, build certain things that may likely be named after you tomorrow. But not by yourself. You cannot assess yourself. So this one, to me, it kind of dents the entire otherwise commendable effort of the minister to renovate the International Conference and bring it up to speed. But naming it after the president has kind of tainted what would have been a very colorful moment for us as city residents and Nigerians.
Well, we don't know if the FCT minister will listen to any of this, because he's been told by the president not to just mind what people are saying, that your good work is already speaking to you. So don't listen to all of the side talks and backbiting. I'm just saying some of the things he's mentioned.
He's doing well in terms of physical road and bridges infrastructure in Abuja, no doubt. And there's no point I will not be happy to have a minister that is performing this much, which shows that he, the president, is also performing. But even when you are doing something that is good, do not now introduce certain tendencies that might dent, the image of such good things you are doing. This one, for me, I think the president should actually decline and reverse it. Honestly, for me, no, it's true.
Or maybe decline future ones and like enough.
For now, I should put an embargo on that for now. But even this international conference, you have a rethink about it. I said, look, I think if it's not been reverted to the old name, it should be given to someone like former President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, who conceptualized it and built it.
No, but what Babangida also stood for, is it one that you want to keep splashing his name as if you're the word endorsing what he did? And we have
Abacha Road in Abuja.
Yeah, but Ibrahim Babangida also has road.
So all of these
it
leaders.
feels like every state you go to, you'll find their roads or their buildings.
All of these leaders are part of. I'm not saying if anybody must be. If you ask me for this,
but why not just leave it as Abuja International Conference
Center? That would be
Center?
the best thing to do. You know why? There's a history to that name as well. For as long as I remember, it's been called ICC. Why can't we leave it to be ICC for the next 100 or 200 years? So that 200 days time it will still be known as ICC. The same way the Cathedral of Notre Dame is known as Cathedral of Notre Dame almost 1,000 years later. So, I don't really also believe that every monument should be named after an individual. Okay. I know it's not something I believe in. I am saying, if it must be well considered, and so decision should be taken to the Council of State as a proposition by the President to say, look, I intend to name the International Conference Center after so and so person. They will deliberate on it and give their...
The Council of State, isn't it high up there?
Of course, they have to advise.
To name monument after someone.
Just have their buy-in. You see, naming monument after individuals is a very serious matter. Because public fund was used to build it. It's a serious, it's not something you just sit down and take a decision that whether as a minister or as a president. It's that serious. So part of the consultation that should go into it is that you sit to the Council of State, former president, former chief justice of the Federation, former Senate president, to say, look, I have the intention of naming this monument after so person. Is it deserving of it? Hear their views. If they give it tacit approval, you go ahead. If they don't, you leave it.
All right.
After all, Oxford University was supposed to give Margaret Thatcher a honorary PhD because every alumni or alumnus of the Oxford University that becomes head of government or head of state automatically earns a honorary PhD. But you know that the faculty members actually declined. They voted against it because she cut budgetary expenditure for education. So they said she wasn't deserving of a PhD. So she was one of the few, I think just about 2 of them, that were Oxford graduates that did not get an honorary PhD from Oxford University.
All right, that is...
So even when something is a given, it can be subjected to consultation. Even it's a given, it can be subjected to consultation. Yes.
All right. So just to get his thoughts on that, and in line with what the FCT minister is doing, like we mentioned, 19 days of all of this is happening, where I'll be looking at quite a number of commission projects, and the minister...
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
It's a midweek special. I've got Majeed Dahiru, we call him Doctor here on Nigeria Info, and adds a lot of to our conversation as we look at some of the critical stories. We started off looking at the commissioning, started with the renaming of the International Conference Center, and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory says that the good works that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing, especially in the FCT, has killed the opposition to wrestle power in 2027. Now, key opposition figures have been working together to form a coalition to challenge Tinubu's administration in 2027. The opposition, which has former Vice President Atiku as one of its arrowhead, has, however, been battling to secure a platform for the next general election mission. This is because the main opposition party has been embroiled in crisis, which many believe will be difficult to actually confront the APC. Now, speaking at the commissioning of the Maitama Gishiri Bridge, Katampe, Jahi, Mabuchi Link Roads in Abuja today, the FCT minister said the coalition is bound to fail, and it has failed because your good work has killed coalition. Wike, who vowed to continue supporting Tinubu's administration, added that some people will not be happy, but many of them were born not to be happy. Honor Tinubu, contractors now have confidence in the government. Your good work has killed the coalition in the country. Now, there's something to unpack from this. One,
So much to unpack.
how good is the work to kill the coalition?
To kill the coalition.
How strong is the coalition in the first place? I mean, we've looked at the coalition aspect of it, and we understand that they have a lot of work to do to match up with what this is putting on. But in terms of the work, and then here is also a burning question that some people are whispering and saying, you know how FCT has always been opposition state of government.
Yeah, of
For
course.
one government, after election, even Buhari himself was so disappointed. He told, I think it was Ajuda then, but somebody was like, not me. Yeah, he was not happy.
Even the villa.
Exactly.
The polling unit there.
Exactly.
Lost it.
I mean, that's usually with Jonathan, the polling
The same
unit.
thing.
With Buhari, the same
same
thing. So it will be interesting to see how. I mean, we know that the APC did not get the votes in the 2023 election
definitely,
here.
They didn't.
But is the good work that the FCT minister doing enough to convince Abujarians that this man, or is it going to be something different? Because he's been talking about good work, killing opposition. I'm thinking, is the good work even sufficient enough to get the confidence of the people here who have always thought we had special status? We even took it to Supreme Court. Supreme Court dashed that hope and said, people are not special.
People are not special.
You're not special
They
after
don't
all.
like any other states. What are you feeling like?
Exactly. So now that has been taken away, we'll be left to see if this not so special federal capital would vote in favor of the government at the end of the day. How much work do you think is enough to convince people?
Okay, there are two things. Like you said, we need to unpack a lot of things from this
Exactly.
this jam-packed statement that Mr. Wiki has made. Let's look at the work he's doing first before going to the politics of it.
All
now,
right.
is he doing well? Yeah, at least. I want to emphasize road infrastructure, particularly in the city center and some satellite towns, seem to be getting massive attention. Like this particular road they've just commissioned is an important
Yes, it is.
artery that can enhance both the business and economic activities of the FCT, no doubt about it. However, FCT people have been used to massive road construction. I mean, this is not the first time that we are seeing this. I mean, it's something that we take for granted in Abuja, really. Yes, the last minister may not have done so much in his 8 years, but on the average, from 1999 at least till now, I mean, Abuja has grown in leaps and bounds in terms of infrastructure. But there's something that would have made a difference in the work Wike is doing, and I hope he's able to do that in the next 2 years. If, for instance, the president is going around right now commissioning expanded, renovated, and if possible, new public school facilities in the FCT, or commissioning expanded, renovated, or even newly built healthcare management facilities in the FCT, I am sure all that Wiki is talking about would have been taken for granted. That is, if in the next 4 years, Abuja residents wake up to now realize that you have enough public schools that are standardized and that you can now either subsidize, that, you know, they're not as expensive as private schools, that you can now take your children to. And when they are sick, when your family is also sick and need of health care, you now have public healthcare management facilities nearest to you that you can actually go for affordable health care. If these two are actually achieved in the next 2 years, alongside the massive project is doing in terms of road and bridges, I'm sure FCT residents who may have been saved the expenses, the very high expenses, you know, of the private education and private healthcare, yes, may be inclined to say, for a government that has done this, why not support it? But for me, until that is done, we can't even start having the conversation yet about whether Abuja people will support a presidential candidate, whether incumbent or otherwise, just because we are doing road and bridge. Because we've seen road and bridges. Jonathan did road, Buhari did, everybody did. But yet, some things are still lacking. You see, one of the major problems of the FCT is inadequacy of healthcare and educational facilities. I know the pain that parents go through. In fact, the day you solve that problem for FCT people, I can assure you their support. But until you solve that problem, until an Abuja resident who is paying tax, because we pay some of the highest taxes in Abuja in terms of national average. Our pay here is quite considerable. We also pay ground rents. We pay all sorts of charges. these monies are supposed to be mopped up to expand public educational facilities. The existing ones should be renovated, expanded, while new ones must be built to take care of the teeming population of the residents of Abuja. All over the world, all over the sane world, primary and secondary education is a priority for all government. That is one thing government can do for you. Because if they're able to see you through primary and secondary school, including in the US, it's like they've empowered you to at least start your life as a mid-cadre workforce or, managerially skilled person. But until that is achieved, as long as parents in Abuja are still paying through their noses for primary education, private primary education and secondary education, and the same thing for healthcare, they will not have felt the impact of government at all. Because they are used to good roads. I mean, Abuja is somewhere you can close your eyes and drive. So if you're adding new roads, not something
spectacular.
So this is not good, man. I mean, I have to talk about it. This is a record flyover, and you're celebrating. No, we're tired of flyover in Abuja. For some flyover are redundant. You drive over them at night, you don't meet any oncoming vehicle, you don't want no one, in fact, you're so lonely because we have too many of these things. I'm just saying, that is not really the problem of the Abuja residents. So this is for me like a free advice, a free consultancy to them. The next time he begins to invite the president to commission newly renovated, expanded, or newly constructed schools, hospitals, in fact, he will not need to talk to
But I don't think we're going to see much of that, because I know during the media chat was one question I asked him if we're going to move away from that.
I saw you constantly asking that question. Because for me, you ask, if you are to prioritize 39 billion between renovating an international conference center and putting a few billions in some few schools around town, ordinarily I would have thought that revamping our public school system would have been prioritized over renovating international conference center. In fact, if there's one aspect of government I want government to remove hand from doing business, it's international conference center. Please prioritize it. Look, because it's a leisurely arena. It has no direct nexus to productivity. So you can prioritize, you can even sell, you can concession, you can do whatever you like.
But then, Dr. Majeed, they will always come up with the argument saying that, and some of these schools, and a bulk of them primary schools, are supposed to be under the purview of the council chairman and the local level.
The same way that the secondary schools are under the FCT administration. Secondary schools. Primary schools are under the area councils. Now, the same way the federal government has what you call UBEC, right?
Yeah.
To assist states. There's nothing wrong if this FCT administration also come up with like a joint venture arrangement between the administration and the area councils on management of primary schools. This is very important. As we speak right now, they're even on strike. Because I don't know what's happened to area councils and their funds. Why they're not able to pay salary is something I cannot explain. When allocation right now, average allocation, is worth 400 million per month. And you can't pay 70,000 minimum wage to teachers. It tells you. So I don't know how you're commissioning roads and children are at home because teachers have not been paid their minimum wage. How are they going to vote? Are they going to eat these roads? No, they won't eat it. They don't like it to vote. Except for other means of winning election FCT that is not vote. Now, this on one hand. But the only other way they can win FCT, even if they don't do what I've said, will be the failure, as we always talked, of the opposition. The question is, I've always been asking, is this. If you take a census today, really, across the country, more people may tell you they will not vote for the current government than those that will tell you that they will vote for it. There's a possibility. If you want to take an opinion and you feel, because people naturally want something better, no matter how well performed the government is. I don't talk of one that people are complaining of mass hunger. I mean, there's a protest coming up again in to coincide with the Democracy Day and all of that. Now, the question will now be, if you don't want Tinubu, APC and Wike, who are you going to vote for? This is the problem I've been talking about. Where they are likely going to get lucky is the inability
strength of the opposition.
You see, the inability of the opposition themselves in order and run a very coherent campaign. Going to the election already, just 2 years ahead. This current administration, I can assure you, going to that election with a burden of incumbency disadvantage arising from performance. It is a no. But to convert that incumbency disadvantage to opportunity is not a challenge for the opposition, because they are not as organized as Tinubu was when he was in the opposition. Tinubu has brought his opposition style into governance So it's not a coincidence that somebody tells you, a prominent PDP spokesperson and critic of the government tells you, I was sitting down, my phone rang, a deputy governor called me and gave the phone to the president. And within a few hours, he was in the president's residence. And he came out just like Saul, had this moment of redemption on the road to Damascus and began to preach the gospel of Tinubu. So, you can see, maybe he knows that in terms of real performance, I may not be there yet. What is he doing? He's deploying political ingenuity now to reach out to even the opposition ranks. Imagine the president calling the show me to come and see him. Then you imagine who that means he must afford.
The show me that is telling us might leave PDP.
Because you are saying God is more G.
But Fayose met him and came out and said, I am not going to leave the PDP.
But told you that he's going to support him. And Fayose is as good as a Tinubu supporter.
Well, he said he's...
Just like Wike telling you, I'm still in PDP.
Talking so glowingly about the
Exactly.
president.
So, the party does not really
The
matter.
president must have something that people just go and meet him and they just have a sudden change of heart. There must be
He
something about
reaches
it.
out. Look, you see, in this country, people will tell you, if the country will not be good for all of us, it's good for me, why not? He reaches out, particularly within the establishment circle. And don't forget, both those that are in the PDP, in the APC, belong to the same establishment family. So some people that are angry with Tinubu, it's not because they didn't construct road or schools for me and you. It is because they have been excluded from the dining table. So he's able to reach out to such people.
I mean, didn't we see it with one of the, I think it was the APC chieftain, the one who just died recently, and the narrative about him, Jesu Tega, or what's his name, was like, 1 minute you're a strong supporter, the next minute just feels like you didn't get certain things and then you became
that is the pattern within the establishment. And people understanding. So he's reaching out to them, opposition governors, reaching out, he's appealing. If you observe, people criticize this man, and he doesn't really harm them. You see, unlike Buhari, who, for instance, decided to weaponize the anti-corruption war against the opposition. If you remember then, PDP was synonymous to corruption. Everybody in PDP was a suspect. He has not done anything close to that at all. Rather, he's using the carrot only. If I just drop the stick and he's just dangling carrots. That on the side is a good political strategy. Now, on this other side, what do you need to do to come back? Because people have made the very valid point that so many big bigs are going to be people not. It is, but the question is, the people will be stranded to see an alternative. So they will sit in their home, and this big wigs will bring out their own support to overrun the system. Because for people to come up for the people that are not initiates, people that don't have a stake, that don't have a stake, that simply want good governance, simple. For them to come out and vote for the alternative, that alternative must be indeed an alternative, something that is compelling enough. Like, what can make you, for instance, wake up in? I've seen people that wake up in and they walk 9 kilometers every day to work. You know why? They have a health time. That's what I must have told them. Don't do this every day. We are likely to fall under the risk of social service. So that is existential. But for you that don't have such risk, for nothing this. But the day they don't tell you, instance, you need to it. So for come out and say, look, we are going to overcome this democratically through the term, through the ballot, peacefully and orderly, in an orderly manner. There must be something existentially compelling. That is something that to them is like it has to do with their own now. It has to right. Then in that sort of people power. Now this people power has the capability and all to neutralize any attempt to deploy to elections. You know why? We have a lot of people power. People in INEC are part of those people power surge. People in the police are part of it. Because maybe you have been able to speak to them enough for them to now realize that their own collective salvation relies in your vision, your personality, your mission, and your focus. That is the challenge before the opposition, because Nigerians are like a serially jilted lover. It will take more than just word of mouth to arouse such a person to action. You must breach all the protocols and go ahead and do a lot of. In fact, you start building house in her father's village first. You have to start action before, because in 2015, Nigerians went through this process. Don't forget, there was a time that people thought that with Buhari, all problems are solved. So I saw Reke sellers, shoemakers, contributing to the presidential campaign fund of Muhammadu Buhari. He came after 8 years and even left the region where he got his most support in devastation. Now in 23, Nigerians really also identified another candidate who was in Labour. And they rallied around him. Partially, they succeeded, but because he didn't get to the particular seat, he actually was able to get a governor and a few members of the National Assembly into power. Now, those ones too have also betrayed us and let the people hanging as well. But because he didn't get power, and people still feel he is still At least he can still be trusted until he goes there, maybe disappointed. You see, he still enjoys that mass following. But what is left now? I'm talking about Mr. P2B again. What is left for the opposition? And I keep saying it. 2 years to the election, you should have identified your candidate. In 2013, it was clear. Anybody who had an insider ear within the then coalition that was APC knew that Buhari was reason for the coalition. It was clear. They already made up their mind. 2 years to this election, we don't know who the candidate is. We won't suggest it to them, they still don't listen. That why not pick somebody who already has mass following? Now, but to make the person to cross this Rubicon is to now correct what Buhari failed to do in 2015. If you observe, Buhari ran on personality status only, is incorruptible. If you listen to Buhari's interviews for the election, he didn't say much. I will face corruption, I will fight corruption, I will
he was
fix
just
the economy.
sold to Nigeria. Just the
you.
idea of him was so appealing to a lot of people.
A soldier can
Megaskia.
defeat Boko Haram,
Yeah.
where a civilian could not, Jonathan.
Exactly.
Then he was an anti-corruption crusader as former head of state military. So you bring that into this time around. Then he's generally disciplined. There was this attribute to him.
Yeah.
But it became clear when he was sworn in that maybe the vision and the idea now is really not there.
It didn't take too long.
But the idea. So people began to compare him to like Babangida, for instance, who you can say his government was corrupt, but was very brilliant. So what Babangida wanted to be president. What he didn't want to do. When he wanted to conduct the best election in Nigeria, he did it. When he didn't want the he also undid it. So that means you now need integrity, one, and then knowledge. And of course, and patriotism. Now, if you have a candidate who has integrity, who has some level of patriotism, now one thing is required. What are the challenges Nigerians are facing today? How are you able to identify those challenges and bring alternate solutions and communicate these solutions to the people in a way that the shoemaker in Wuse Market would understand that through this manifesto of this coalition and this candidate's policy statement, my life will be better. The farmer in Katsina, the same thing. The trader in Onitsha, the same thing. That is the challenge before the opposition. Because people tend to stay with what they know. That is the nature of democracy. That's why I always try to push the opposition to say, you should do it. If you fail in this, and the incumbents win around other parties, it should not be for them, It would have been that you did the people you earned it from. In 2015, the APC pretended to give us an alternative for the amount of time. In 2012, Jonathan removed subsidy on petrol unilaterally, January 1st. Baba Ebari, Lai Mohammed and others opposed it line for line, word, and condemned it. One refinery is the ones who fight corruption, Nigerians. Keep subsidy, not corruption, not Nigerians. And they supported CSOs and the media to rally against Jonathan. That was an effective opposition. Jonathan introduced subsidy, and that is okay. But they said I should fight corruption. He then set up that committee to probe for any place. And this one that was in it, that we are inducted, started facing or just convicted recently. The opposition was able to, one of them was just convicted, I think also. After long trial.
That's from the subsidy trial?
Yes, it did say. It was that same trial that got Farukila trouble. Have you forgotten? When he went to Apototola to say blah, blah, blah. Fine. So what I'm saying is, Jonathan now did that, and now for that reduced price from 97 to 87 naira, you can clean up this price. That was to rally to say, yeah, do this. But when the Nigerians had lost some level of confidence, had lost enforcement. So by 250, the campaign was APC was going to build refineries, revamp the old ones, a reduced fuel price. In fact, we had supporters there, we were told we'll buy fuel at 45 naira. This is 5 expensive. Blah, blah, blah. There was this alternative that was put forward. I'm saying you need something similar. As opposition leaders, either Atiku and Obi and others, you cannot be tight-lipped on the two policies that the Tinubu government introduced that created this level of problems. Even the government knows, and they're telling you, hey, we are saying for a better tomorrow. They know. And I'm saying it's too enough for the opposition to come up with a united stand on this matter to say, look, where the president has done this and done that, we may have thought along that same line before, but I haven't seen this. This is our new approach. The day we see that alternative, I can assure you that many Nigerians will gravitate toward it. That's the picture of democracy. And once you have the people on your side, I keep saying it, so people power can defeat every nation.
In summary, it is not to be about your good work has defeated opposition. It's also going to be, it's going to rest heavily on the strength and the opposition you see. And the ability to convince Nigerians without a shadow of doubt that we are the true good salvation you're looking for.
That was why
political
a guiding position, for example, a guiding position, we had set out early enough to say, you must also oppose by example. So that by 2 years now,
Oh, man.
yes. So in 2 years now, we would have saying, why the parents brought that to us? We should members of parliament. Oh, have stood out as honorable and distinguished members. Look at their scorecard. Look at their conduct. They have redefined parliamentary business. They have redefined legislative businesses. They have shown integrity. They have shown. Then the lone governor that Labour Party, for example, is having would have also been that shining example of what Nigerians actually want from a subnational government.
Well, they speak so glowingly of him, but is he extraordinary?
That's the point. It has to be exceptional. I mean, for example, I would have expected that a party like Labour should not hesitate to release local government funds in line with the constitutional provision, rather than teaming up with other governors to oppose even a Supreme Court judgment implementation. Something like that. We would have expected the CEC would have been the best. And referred to go to IBM and learn how the CEC is functioning, seeing how they conduct local government. These are the two differences we wanted to see. In addition to the good works the man is doing, these are fundamental issues. Why again I'm picking on the Labour Party is because PDP and APC are two sides of the same coin. So anybody who pays you money to get to power does not really owe you good governance. I keep saying this. But for a party that kind of rose on the people's goodwill to get to power, that party should have been focused up now. If you have needed a question, people say they put part by what money. But after that, the good thing is you still have a man aim cycle kind of that party that was the whole thing. It's important for the position. And what now he's not rallying around him. Now add all the other elements that are required to that boost. Because the way it is going, everybody wants to contest. From the north, from the south. Atiku is in the race. To Obi being...
He said anything very formal about it.
We are hearing, and he has not denied it. That being considered as the settlement kind of, how do you call it? Compromise candidate. We are hearing such things. By now, it should have been clear that, look, this is the direction.
In which part?
That is the problem. You see, where the problem in the PDP started, we said it ahead of the problem that if PDP goes this way, it will create this problem. Right? Now, the Labour Party, for instance, had a problem too. And I keep saying, look, you should be able to a political party if you want to manage a train. In this case, by sound bitter in people's ears, but it's not very tidy. You should be able to, matter what it takes, bring eggheads around you, get advisors that can help you as the leader of that party to manage whatever difficulties in that party so that the party will survive. Look, we have had dictators in this country, in this civilian regime. We had people like Obasanjo who did not pretend to be a Democrat. Opposition survived. Even on that heavy rigging. We had that knew how to play the cool game very well. Look at Barry. We're going to made the PDP now through the war. It research because you had people there stand firm. So again, if they're going to form a new party, they do it quickly. If they're on the party, they do it quickly. Whatever they want to do, see, by how much money on the party. If you don't have a roof over your head, how you should have the comes, it will not be too silly.
Maybe they're still doing the proper consultation that is required so as not to put the wrong foot for the end of the day. Never can tell. Yes. Yes. All right. Let's your 2 cents in and your opinion on the stories and the areas we've looked at so far on the Midweek special. You can call 0700 951 0000 or call via WhatsApp on 0809 9930137. And we've been live on Facebook from the start of the show and YouTube also at Nigeria Info Abuja on Facebook, at Nigeria Info Abuja on YouTube also. And Amadiho Ohura Macha, okay, says, Dr. Majeed, you've spoken well. May Almighty God be with you. Kudos to the channel of Nigeria Info. Thank you very much. Abdul Ghani Ujimo, we see you. Lucky Chinedu, we see you. Stephen Emeka Fidelis. Dr. Majeed spoke well about Wike, but apart from education and healthcare, there's urgent need for proper mass transit system in the federal capital. And that's what we have on YouTube. Wow, quite a lot of comments there. Sumbano says, Dr. Majeed, Idmo back in areas, joining you all the way from Ede Town in Osun State. Dr. Majeed has decamped to Nigeria Info City Contest as the President of the Federal Republic. There you, Dr. Majeed, okay, so talking about I can't carry it over the honor. And he says, Dr. Majeed, you're doing well. Your secondary school in ECSS or Ken.
Community school, when a community school will go.
And we have Lamin Dania says, Dr. Majeed, could you please have a 1-hour session with PO to advise him, POB to advise him in some of the missing organizational tactics to election? You're excellent in your analysis, he said. And then Joseph Nix also sent in He said, "Thank you for excellent analysis every Wednesday. I take the show at lunch." Very good.
Talk, news, and sports. This.
Everyone says I'm beautiful and bold. They say I'm fashionable. And to crown it up, very confident.
This is Nigeria Info.